morning, everyone. So thank you for attending our session today. Yeah. So for my topic, I'll be sharing with you. I think earlier Sir Arnie talked about data protection. Now we'll talk about more on cybersecurity, naman. So the cybersecurity landscape and why we are dealing with zero trust model. So just a very quick overview. I know you've heard a lot about zero trust. So basically, zero trust, never trust. Um, Always verify or continuous risk assessment. So, dyan umiikot yung story ng zero trust in Trend Micro. So, before zero trust, just very quick overview. Before zero trust, networks start out wide open to employees and attackers. So, they are easy to move around laterally. So, even the VPN users have wide open access. So when an attacker compromises a credential in your environment, so they can move laterally and of course do serious damage. So that's how things work before zero trust. But of course, with the new technologies coming in, there are of course changes. So we see that before zero trust, so network segmentation makes lateral movement also harder, but policies are also hard to manage. So, di ba, people process technology. So there are processes that can be done to stop yung wide open network. So like network segmentation. So we also see that shift to cloud for IaaS and SaaS increase the complexity and visibility challenges. So these SaaS applications also is very easy to bypass, especially that we have a lot of remote employees, and of course, they don't really go through the intranet or the internal network anymore. So they bypass the IT visibility in this case. So when zero trust approach emerges, so how do we do it? What is the concept behind zero trust when you talk about cybersecurity? So we start by trusting nothing by default. I think for all security vendors, this is also the philosophy, di ba? Kasi it's a philosophy that we follow. So the technology may be different from each and every vendor, pero yung concept is the same. So aside from trusting nothing by default, like for example, allowing no network connections by default, we assess the risk before we allow the connection. So before we allow the users to connect or the device, we assess the risk level of these devices. Like, are they healthy? Is the account compromised or not? Are there any malicious or anomalous activity that we see? And how's the application health as well? So if policy allows, of course, a purpose-built connection will be established and will be assessed continuously. So the connection is 1:1. So we reduce yung wide open network that we are talking about on a traditional model. So that's the concept of zero trust. Why are we doing this? Of course, it makes the attacker's lateral movement and credential usage. So in case lang nagkaroon ng compromise account, it makes the attackers more challenged when moving around your organization. It also complements an XDR approach to threat detection. So we'll be talking about how we do this, how we combine zero trust with XDR, because a lot of companies are looking at an XDR technology, evaluating XDR. So there are different type of XDR solutions out there, different implementation concepts. So we'll be sharing how Trend Micro will do this. And of course, we enable the elimination of wide open VPN and backhaul challenges as well, and access policy based on risk insight, which is easier to manage. So we'll also be showing you some demo if time allows. I'll quickly go through the demo so that you have an idea of how it works. So now let me talk about the solutions. So Trend Micro Zero Trust solutions. So again, based on this specific article, so from the federal CISOs, they view zero trust based on this core principle. So again, verifying every user, every device, and then within that, limit access intelligently. So this is how they view zero trust to be implemented. So yesterday in the panel discussion, so Sir Mao actually said that there's a mindset change of mindset when we implement zero trust. Yes, this is very true kasi talagang totally different experience for our end users when we implement zero trust. So I would say that Trend Micro Zero Trust Solutions is a two-pronged two-prong two-prong solution. So first is, of course, we have the risk insights. Kasi before we allow them to access a specific application, we need to know first, is the device healthy? Is the user account healthy? Application. So this is what we call the zero trust risk insights. So with risk insights, we continuously monitor risk of identities, your user accounts, devices, applications, and data, making it easier for us to decide whether we will allow them access or not. And of course, on the right side is the secure access. So once you have the information, you have the risk information, we will then create a secure connection from you, your device, using your user account to the specific web applications or private applications that you have. So why are we doing this and why are we talking about risk insight? So we all know that Trend Micro is very strong when it comes to the XDR space, when it comes to endpoint security solutions. So what we did is that on top of our endpoint security solutions, we built a sensor. So that sensor actually helped us to collect telemetry data, a lot of data that we are able to use for risk insight. So with risk insight, it allows us to see everything. And of course, with that, we are able to prioritize risk for better decision making. So that's, I think, one of the differentiators also of Trend Micro because of the sensors that we have. So how do we do that? So let's follow, we will just follow this slide. In terms of how we compute or evaluate risk insight of each and every organization. So first is, of course, we have the primary data sources. These are the Trend Micro solutions that I'm talking about, like from our endpoint sensors, our email sensor, and of course, other Trend Micro sources like the network, and of course, if you have mobile security. Again, these are all the sensors that we have. And aside from that, we can also accept sensors or data sources from third party, like let's say your Active Directory, which tells us a lot of user activity data. If you have other, let's say, IAM solutions, or let's say these are the different third party that we support. So you can see it from here. So for example, we also gather information like specific to vulnerabilities from Qualys and the likes. So all this data will be sent to our Vision One. So that is where we host the risk insight functionality. And from there, we will analyze and we will compute the risk of every user account, every application, every data usage, and of course, every device. So we compute the risk not just on a device level. Kasi your device may be clean, but paano if compromised na yung user account mo? And the same, your account may be okay, but what if yung device mo is already infected with malware? So again, each and every entity nung digital attack surface natin, we have to compute the risk level to be able to make sure na talagang your risk level is okay before we allow that connection. So, and of course, once we have the risk insight, it provides us with visibility. So like, what is the risk posture of the whole organization? And we can also compare it to the other organizations, like, for example, the same organization or the same enterprise level that you have. So I'll share that with you later on in a few screenshots. And of course, with that visibility, we are able to make better decisions and go through the secure access. So how do we compute, or how do I talk about the risk insight, how to evaluate the risk of each and every user account entity in an organization? So we base on these 6 criteria. So from threat detection, so basically if there are any threats detected by, let's say, our Apex One Trend Micro solution or any other Trend Micro solutions that you have in place. XDR detection. So if there are any correlated detections, if we see any attacker activity on your devices, cloud application activity, if you are accessing SaaS applications or cloud applications, account compromise, if we see that there are anomalies, unusual login behavior, if there are any internal phishing email or credential dumping. And we also check on vulnerability, which is very important because that's one of the attack vectors also. Vulnerability detection on operating system and of course application level also. And from the vulnerability detection that we have, we prioritize based on global. We compare global and local exploit activity as well. And lastly, of course, is the anomaly detection if we see any unusual data transfer or email behavior. So these are the criteria for evaluating the risk posture of your organization. So for example here, under account compromise, we see that this specific, in this screenshot, this specific user has account compromise. Why? What are the events that we have seen that actually make it a high risk user account? So here we see that there might be leak account, so a potential detection of attempt to dump passwords, or there's a suspicious user activity based on, let's say, his Office 365 email, or user being a sender, if we see internal phishing, and of course targeted user account as well. So if there's a possible spear phishing attack. So those are some of the detections that we might have to be able to tell that, okay, this account might be compromised. So that's one example. So from there, we identified the user risk score. So how do we do it, and what are the things that you are looking here? So here, for this specific user, Adele Vance, the risk score is actually 84 because we have seen that there are quite a number of account compromise related activities. So on the, you would be seeing it on your upper left. Yeah. And then we also see that there are threat related detections. So like web threat, mobile related threat, connected application threat. So these are some of the things that we see. And of course, XDR detection as well. So again, we compute and evaluate the risk score of each and every entity in your organization based on these 6 criteria. So aside from that, we can also help you prioritize vulnerabilities for remediation. So how do we do that? Of course, from the XDR sensors, we are able to gather if your systems are actually patched, what's the status in terms of this vulnerability. So we will be getting global exploit threat intelligence. So of course, we have our Trend Micro Research, which provides us with threat intelligence information on vulnerability, as well as our bug bounty program, which is ZDI, Zero Day Initiative. We will also be getting exploit attempts detected from your Trend Micro deployment. Like if you have our Vision One, you have the sensors, those two information, one from the global threat intelligence and another from your own threat intel, which if there are any exploit attempts in your organization, from there we will provide you with like what are the immediate risks and what needs remediation and what needs immediate action, I would say. So again, it's a combination of global and of course your local, so to make it more customized for you. So just to give you a view on how it looks like, so this is, for example, your vulnerability detection view. We will be telling you that like these are all the at-risk vulnerabilities in on this specific endpoint. We'll give, when you click on that specific vulnerability ID, it will go to this page on the upper right. It will show you the vulnerability details. Under it, you would see there's prevention rules. The prevention rules are the virtual patching rules available on Trend Micro Solutions. So if you have, let's say, our Cloud One workload security, if you have the Apex One or Tipping Point, those are some of the solutions that would have virtual patching in place. And it also tells you that, okay, you can use this to protect your system. So aside from that, in terms of an overall risk, what is the risk level of your organization? These are some of the things that you can see. So as I've mentioned, these are the criteria, the risk factors and scores. So account compromise, vulnerability detection, anomaly detection, cloud application activity, XDR, and threat detection. Aside from that, we also give you a trending, like when did the risk actually increase, and what is the comparison with your peers, with your with other organization. And we also give you on the lower level, like what are the immediate action needed, like at risk users or devices that needs your immediate action. So as on an operational level, you would know where to focus if you are using the Vision One console. So aside from that, we also provide you with a risk by device. So earlier I've shown the risk by user. So now I'm showing you the risk by device. As I've mentioned, we evaluate the risk level for each and every entity in your organization. So we show here that your risk score is 72, and then the risk indicators would be on the lower portion of the screen. So again, this is the risk by user, and then the cloud application usage by user, organization, by device. We will also be showing you that. So how do we get this information? Again, from the different data sources that I have mentioned earlier, either Trend Micro Solutions or and sensors or third party that we can integrate into this portal, which is Vision One. So why are we looking at zero trust risk insight? Why is it important? So as I've mentioned, it helps you understand your risk posture before you allow access to your users. So it allows you to prioritize the corrective actions. Like I've mentioned earlier, you would see what are the users or devices that would need immediate action. And of course, you can automate your access decisions based on the risk posture of your user. So how is it different? Um, I know that a lot of organizations, a lot of vendors are offering zero trust solutions. Again, zero trust is a philosophy. So in terms of how we implement it in our in Trend Micro Solutions, why is how is it different and how do we do it? So first is, of course, we provide more visibility by providing a broader coverage. So we don't just cover the endpoint or the servers. We also cover visibility on the email and network. So we have email and network sensors as well. On the email, it's not just incoming and outgoing emails. We also have sensors for monitoring internal emails, which I've mentioned is very important. Because what if the phishing actually started from an internal phishing, diba? So this also very important that we have view on that one. So more SaaS capability than CASB because of our endpoint agent. So especially on the unsanctioned applications, because CASB normally covers your sanctioned applications. What if your endpoints are going to unsanctioned applications? So that's one. And of course, it's built on top and complements our XDR using the same agent and infrastructure. So for Trend Micro users or Trend Micro customers, I think this is also one of the advantage. Like you already have the sensors, you already have the solution in place. So it's just a matter of enabling yung risk insight and yung access or secure access later on. So we also have deep understanding of email and of course Office 365 activity, which I have mentioned earlier, since we have the sensor for Office 365 and Google Workspace. And again, on top of that is that, of course, we have the vulnerability intelligence, which is very important for us to know whether the risk that we are seeing, is it high severity or low? And of course, with the ZDI, Zero Day Initiative, we are able to gain more visibility sa mga zero trust, sa mga zero day vulnerability because of the research from ZTI. So next is, as I've mentioned, diba, two-prong siya. So first is, you know the risk insight, you know the posture. Now we will provide the secure access. So how do we provide the secure access? This is where yung parang they mentioned that SASE technology comes in. So the second would be the, you know the application is healthy. Now let's create a connection. Now let's create yung access control. So intelligently create a secure connection. So we call it zero trust secure access. For you to basically establish and maintain a secure connection to whether it's a private application or a public application, again, based on the risk insight. So how do we do that? So with ZTNA, Zero Trust Network Access, again, the capability is built on the single agent. So the same agent that you are using today for Vision One. And it allows you to connect to your private application. So of course, at the back end, we have to define the access per application to a specific user. So we also have cloud and data center connectors to receive secure communication. So you don't require a VPN anymore. So it's like, it's actually a replacement of VPN. So, and of course, we block unsafe connection based on what we see from Zero Trust Risk Insight. So yung first part, yung risk insight. So next is, what if it's a SaaS application or a public application? So how do we do that? So we have API integration. so that ZTNA will allow termination points for corporate applications. We also have network enforcement points via either proxy, firewalls, or IPS integration with third-party or Trend Micro solutions. And also, of course, for managed devices, you already have the endpoint agent, the same endpoint agent that will allow whether to block or allow access to specific corporate or SaaS applications. And again, part siya ng Vision 1. So in terms of the use case, here we have a simple matrix, like if it's a managed device and unmanaged device. So if it's a managed device, meaning we have the agent deployed, so syempre protected, we can provide zero trust access wherever they are, whether they are on-premise, or remote, or it's a private or public application. So if it's an unmanaged device, meaning wala tayong agent na deploy, let's say BYOD, but they are inside the corporate network, as long as it's a private application, since we have a proxy layer or a gateway, technically they will have to go through the gateway before they access the private application. But if it's an unmanaged device, and they are off the corporate network and using a public application, of course, it's a personal use case and out of scope na kasi talagang it's a rogue device. So we need also to have another layer to be able to see this. Okay. So again, ZTNA for the managed and unmanaged device in private applications, and CASB, you can have CASB or SWG, secure web gateway for public applications. So let me go through a quick demo of our Zero Trust Secure Access. So Risk Insight is already there. For most of our customers, you would already have a feel of how Risk Insight works. So for today, I'll be showing you how just some use cases lang of how secure access works. So here we will block a risky user based on the continuous risk assessment. So here we have a user. So normal user, the user would have access to a wiki, which is an internal application based on what we have defined. So may access siya to this wiki, and of course, okay then yung access niya to Office 365. But what we will do now is that the user will conduct a specific attack. So simulate lang natin. So magkakaroon lang siya ng credential dumping. So using LSAS. So after that, we will see that kasi since may nakitang credential dumping based on this activity, Zero Trust Secure Access will now change yung rule kasi nga we continuously assess. We see that okay, may nangyari dun sa user natin or on this device. So we will now block the access to this specific application. So you see that the access to this wiki is automatically blocked. So we cut off the connection, and of course the connection to Office 365 was also cut. Aside from that, any other way of accessing the application, kahit mag-PowerShell ka to access the wiki, it will also be blocked. So basically, the whole connection was already blocked by the secure access. So that's one of the example. Again, I think that's one of the differentiators ni Risk Insight is that it continuously assess. Hindi lang siya one-time assessment. Hindi siya parang knock na before you access, I'll check for your compliance. So what we do here is continuous yung assessment. So meaning any point in time, nagloko yung user or the device, we will automatically cut the connection. So next is curious kayo, like how do we install the agent or how do we deploy the secure access? So again, if you are a Vision 1 user or you already have our agent installed, then it means that wala ka nang gagawin because we are using the same agent. But let's say if you don't have the agent pa, you're a new customer of Trend Micro, then you can download the installer from Vision 1, and then we'll just install the agent. It's a very small agent, yung size is very small. So we will just install, you will see it from here. We'll access that agent. Once you download it, less than 3 MB. So once you download it, you install it, you run the application, it will automatically connect back to Vision 1. So once na completed na yung installation natin. So when it's successful, automatically you will also have your XDR sensor and your secure access agent. So para siyang yung dati mong VPN agent in this case. So again, it's a replacement of VPN. So now we'll show you how easy it is to actually install or how to use this secure access module. So from there, since installed na siya, you will see it from Vision One portal. So this is the workstation that we are looking at. And then we will now deploy the Zero Trust Secure Access module. So it's as easy as doing this. So now that it's deployed, then the secure access agent will now be shown on the endpoint workstation. So ganun lang po siya kadali. So again, if you are already using Vision 1, no need to install yung endpoint base camp na nakita nyo earlier. You don't have to go through that. You just have to go back here kay secure access module and just enable the module from here. Yeah. Okay. So I'll fast forward to show you. Yeah. So this is the secure Zero Trust Secure Access agent. Okay. Yeah. And then of course sign in based on your user account. Next is how do you, one of the sample use case lang. So how do you control access to internal applications? So here, I'll be forwarding on some of the parts kasi medyo mabagal lang yung video. So now that we have the secure access, so you're accessing specific applications from because of the secure access, diba? So syempre at the back end, you have to define the different applications that you will be using. So it's under permission control. So we go to connect access to this specific wiki. We choose which specific users or groups that you would allow. Like it's like an IAM solution, diba? Pag IAM, Identity and Access Management, you provide them access to which specific application. Parang ganyan din nag-work yung secure access. So you define which specific groups, which specific applications you would allow. So initially, yung access niya to that wiki is not allowed kasi wala siyang, it's not part of the role. So since nag-change ng role yung user natin, we allow them access, we put them under that group, automatically nag-change na. So when they try to access the wiki, it's already available and it's already accessible from the console. So again, the first one is based on risk level. So we can create policies based on the risk permission. This one, what we are showing you is that we create a policy based on permission, based on parang access control list ba? So a generic term. So why Zero Trust Secure Access? So again, first is, I think one of the differentiator is that if you're using the agent already, no need to deploy a new agent. So no new ZTNA, Zero Trust Network Access agent to deploy. It's integrated with your endpoint protection and your EDR or XDR or Vision 1. So we have different terminologies, but it's the Vision 1 agent. So it's a very similar user experience, whether you are in the office or remote. And of course, one of the differentiator, as I've mentioned, is yung risk insight. So we have so much data. We have so much telemetry data coming from our sensors. So what we did is that we put in Zero Trust Secure Access para ma-take advantage yung information that we have to be able to help you automate things, automate access control, see a better security posture, see better yung security posture of your environment. And of course, yung continuous risk assessment is also very important in this case. So Zero Trust and XDR actually work together very seamlessly. So why? The question would be why. So first is XDR. Let's define each muna. Diba XDR is basically extended detection and response, which provides you visibility across your whole environment. You would see visibility on your endpoints, visibility on your email, on not just internal and external email connection, but also yung internal emails. So as well as other SaaS applications that you are using. So if you have OneDrive, SharePoint, so pag nandun yung mga threat, nakikita din natin yon. So aside from that, network, server, cloud workloads. So those are some of the data sources that we have. And as I've mentioned, third-party applications are also supported. So again, from these data sources that we have, we put them all in one single data lake, and then we have the Vision 1 or our XDR to be able to perform correlation and detection. And again, also good with XDR is that you're able to perform automated response or remediation in some cases. Also, of course, there are response actions that you can do from the console itself. So like if you are an SOC analyst, so after you perform investigation and you deem necessary that kailangan i-fix ko na tong problema na nakikita ko. So I can now create playbooks, I can now create remediation actions and then have it approved by depende kung ano yung workflow nyo. Like, let's say, have it approved by the server admin. So once it's approved by the server admin, automatically you can already deploy the patches or perform the remediation actions that is needed. So again, that's what XDR does, diba? Detection and response. So detection meaning gaining visibility across. And of course, with that, it's able to provide you risk assessment, that's one. And of course, yung vulnerability details, lahat yan nakikita natin. So now with Zero Trust, as I've mentioned, Zero Trust, like always verify, trust no one. So we are able to continuously assess risk of devices, user accounts, and applications before and during connections. So yun yung difference niya with VPN or with the network access control. So before you connect and during the connection, if you perform any malicious activity, suspicious, automatically yung connection mo can be cut off. So how does XDR and Zero Trust work together to be able to combat yung cyber threats nowadays, yung sophisticated na very stealthy threat nowadays? So kasi with Zero Trust, it makes it makes the attackers harder or challenge the attackers in terms of moving around your organization. Since it's hard for them, it's harder for them to move laterally, they make more noise. Siyempre, itatry niya lahat di ba? If before, there's a compromised account, enter ako, I can already move laterally, I have access already. Now with Zero Trust, hindi niya nagagawa yon. So they would have to try different ways, different attack vectors on how to get in your organization kasi nga Zero Trust. So mas stricter yung controls mo in place. So stricter controls also means your attackers have to make more choices, di ba? When it comes to make more steps or options when it comes to moving inside your organization. And that move creates more noise, creates more visibility that feeds into our Vision 1 or our XDR. So dahil mas maingay ka, nag-feed ka ng more data to XDR, so your SOC analyst now will be able to see more like bakit merong mga events na nakikreate on this specific network, on this specific endpoints. And of course, when I'm investigating it, I can now see that there's a potential, let's say, initial phase trying to access my organization. So again, Zero Trust approach slows down the attackers and makes them more visible. Kaya these two technologies actually work hand in hand. So threat detections are a key, of course, to input the risk assessment as well. So they work very, very seamlessly. So yun yung maganda with Zero Trust and XDR. So to be able to help you with your Zero Trust journey, as I've mentioned earlier, Zero Trust is a philosophy, and kahapon din dun sa panel, it's not a single solution. Zero Trust may not work for each and every organization. You have to evaluate whether this approach would fit your organization. You have to evaluate whether another type of Zero Trust solution would be of better fit for your organization based on your needs, based on your budget. So again, but as a general rule, start with a Zero Trust mindset as a mindset, not a product. So how you want to implement it. And then after that, you can decide whether what specific technology would be better for your organization. So gain risk visibility for better decisions. So hindi lang basta-basta accessing, di ba? You need to have that risk visibility. So when choosing a technology, you have to make sure that aside from providing that Zero Trust capability, how do they decide whether I would allow that access? Is it based on the risk? Is it based on compliance of your endpoints? Is it based on your users, etc.? So of course, without risk analysis, how can you enable yung trust na yun, di ba? So, and of course, limit access intelligently. So using whether another SASE technology or trend microtechnology, again, using the scores coming from your risk insight. Okay, so thank you very much. I think, okay. So how does Trend Micro work with other security solutions? So specific to Vision One, of course, we gather sources, data sources from other security solutions. Like to name some, of course, with Splunk, we work with Splunk. Meron siyang gather data sources. We can also send data to third party like Splunk. We gather information, vulnerability information from Qualys. We can integrate also with secure service gateways, yung mga UTM or firewalls like for example, Palo Alto Checkpoint, Fortinet, of course, Trend Micro Tipping Point can also be part of that secure service gateway. Sorry, service gateway. We also work with like Okta, IAM solutions to be able to again provide yung user account visibility. So those are some of the information that or some of the third party that we support. But again, may open API naman si Trend Micro, so we can easily use the open API to integrate with third party. Yeah.
He asked if they are looking for a security solution for medical equipment like CT scan, X-ray, ultrasound. That is attached to a network. So is there any product that we can offer, Tina, or Sir Romel's company? Yeah.
Yes.
Can you talk more about it?
Yeah, actually curious ako. But yes, we have solutions for IoT devices. So the likes of medical equipments, IoT yan. So there's a network based security solution for IoT or smart factory. Example yan ng smart factory. So depende. Again, there are quite a number of solutions. Meron from the endpoint, meron from the network level, meron from the firewall side also. So meron tayong full IPS and endpoint for medical equipment. Yeah, sorry, add ko lang, meron kasi tayong magandang implementation currently for medical equipment. So that's meron tayong like in the Philippines so meron tayong customer reference for that.
Yeah, may use case talaga. Okay, so another question from the Q&A section, Tina. So do I need to shut down my VPN to use zero trust security?
Better to shut down kasi you don't need multiple di ba? So it's a replacement of VPN. Yep. So offload nyo na kay firewall yan.
Yep. So another question, does Trend Micro have single solution that provides ZTNA and MFA for seamless authentication and network access, especially for remote users?
Okay, so we don't have MFA kasi. So we integrate with a third party for MFA. So we only have the network access lang. So no, sorry. Yeah, so for multi-factor authentication, we integrate with third party.
So will zero trust integrate with existing or legacy technology, Tina?
What kind of legacy technology? But I think one of the good things about Trend Micro Solution is that yung sa legacy portion, we have Cloud One workload security that works really well with legacy operating system. So let's say the operating system or application, wala na siyang support coming from the vendor. So Trend Micro still supports it and we will still provide virtual patching. So at a minimum, we will provide protection for that. So, and of course, aside from the protection, it is also able to feed that information into our Vision One. So yeah, which also provides a little bit of information for the zero trust.
There's another question. Multiple Linux servers located at different data centers. Some are connected to the internet while others are not. What is the recommended zero trust implementation of Trend Micro?
Okay. So for zero trust kasi, we do support yung public and private access. So for the data centers that doesn't have internet connection, hindi naman siya talaga required. We can actually add a proxy or we call it a service gateway on-premise, so that we will allow external users to access that proxy, and then that proxy will be the one to have to create the connection back to the intranet or to that application, specific to that application, kasi ganun ang zero trust. Yeah. So nasa implementation lang sa infrastructure. Yep. So you can do that.
So this is an integration question. So do we integrate with Sonic Wall?
Currently, firewall ba? Firewall diba? Firewall si Sonic Wall, diba? Or UTM? Yeah, I think it's a firewall UTM. Currently, we don't have direct integration yet. So what we can do is we use the open API of Trend Micro to integrate with Sonic Wall. So if I'm not mistaken, parang firewall sila or UTM. So yung lahat ng IOCs or events coming from Trend Micro, pwede nilang i-pull using the API and block it from Sonic Wall side.
This is a question from an existing customer, I think. So as mentioned during the presentation about Zero Trust and XDR working together, does it complement with your DDI or Deep Discovery Inspector? Yes, of course.
Yep. Yes, of course po. So bakit may DDI or DDI, Deep Discovery Inspector, is our network sensor. So why do we have the network sensor? Basically, it provides you with visibility, provides you more angles when we talk about attacks. So yung nakita ko sa isang webinar, which is very good, is that so if you look into this, para akong nagme-middle finger, di ba? Parang nagme-middle finger. So like on an endpoint, nakikita mo, ito lang yung nakikita mo. But if you have the network sensor, you have another angle of looking at it. So parang it provides you with more angles on whether that attack is really relevant ba. Kunyari, nakita mo on one endpoint lang. So tama ba yun? Meron bang other vectors pa? So if you have another view, which is the network, yun. So malalaman mo, you will have a better attack story in place. So mas walang false positive yan.
Right. Okay, so another question is there a security tool to check and assess API connections? We have
okay,
that.
So if you're talking about API connections, para siyang cloud, so we have a full suite of cloud solutions. So Cloud One, yes, Cloud One siya. So there are different modules in Cloud One to be able to provide protection for the different cloud services. So for API, if it's a runtime, security, so we have Cloud One security solutions to be able to address that for API connections or API services.
What advice can you give to student attendees who would want to enter cybersecurity jobs with zero experience? Most jobs are looking for applicant with experience. So all panelists, we hope to bridge the gap between the academe and the industry.
Yes, I like this this question actually. So hindi ganon. It doesn't work like that. Like for example, in Trend Micro, we accept fresh graduates. So we train them from ground up. So again, if you want to work with Trend Micro, please feel free to let us know kasi we have a huge opening for fresh graduates so that you can start your cybersecurity journey.
All right. Thank you so much, Jason and Tin, for this insightful discussion.